about the postgraduate loan, if maybe there is some master students among you. And then we're going really to focus on the eligibility and condition for students who have a leave granted under Ukraine schemes, and also for students who have a leave under the Afghan schemes. So what are the conditions for eligibility to get a student loan if you're in one of these categories? We're also going to explain you how to apply for a student loan, the repayment conditions. And finally, if you have any question, then we will be able to discuss with you. All right. Also, if during the presentation you have some questions, just put on a piece of paper so you don't forget your question, and then you can ask us at the end. All right. So now I'm going to leave it to my colleague, Rehan.
Hello everyone, my name is Rehan. I'm also a student advisor as part of the student advice team. And today I'll be talking to you about the tuition fee loan for both the undergraduate and master's loan, as well as the maintenance loan for an undergraduate loan. So you may have seen the logo of Student Finance England, whether you've seen it through YouTube or social media, or maybe you have been Googling around student loans and you've come across this. So what does Student Finance England do? Student Finance England, or SFE, provides financial support for students entering higher and postgraduate education in the United Kingdom on behalf of the UK government. And for an undergraduate tuition fee loan, which we'll start here for our journey today, you'll be able to borrow up to £9,250 for full-time courses. And for part-time courses, you can apply for up to £6,935. Both of these are paid directly to the university. And to be eligible for an undergraduate loan, first you must apply for a full-time or part-time course. All courses must be over 30 credits. That includes a Cert HE course, or for example, BSc or BA, and all ages. So there's no limit on an age requirement for you applying for an undergraduate loan. But you must also meet eligible residency category. My colleague Sarah will be talking about the schemes today later on in the presentation, so keep an eye out for that. And you must also not already hold an equivalent or higher level qualification, which I'll talk about now. If you already have a degree or qualification at the same level or higher than the one that you wish to study, you will still be eligible to apply for a government tuition fee loan for one of the exempt ELQ part-time courses. Some of these courses can be from mathematics, psychology, computing, geography, for example. These are the exempt 4-year part-time undergraduate courses, should you wish to pursue another course. Feel free to take a picture of the QR code. I'll leave a few seconds for you to take a picture of that. Okay, so how your student finance funding throughout your journey is calculated is they take your course duration, which for a standard undergraduate course is 3 years, or a foundation would be 4 years. They also give you a gift year, which is an additional year should you retake a year if you fail a year. Also, they take into consideration any previous study you may have had. This gives you a total years of funding available. So for example, if you want to study BA management for 3 years full time, let's say the course is 3 years, you'll also receive your gift year +1, and you haven't had any previous studies before. So this means you will receive 4 years of tuition funding. Another example is if you study 2 years already at full-time at a university in Ukraine, and you want to start the full-time BSc business degree, how many years of funding can you get? So the way they work out is you take the full course duration again, which is 3, +1, which is your gift year. But now that you've already studied 2 years full-time, -2, which gives you a total of 2 years of funding. Now, the way that this works is student finance will only give you the funding backwards, and they won't give you for year 1 and year 2, for example. You'll only receive the remaining allowance for years 2 and year 3. Should this situation happen to you, you will have to self-fund your first year. Now, for example, if you've had a circumstance outside of your control that prevented you from studying, you may be eligible to receive an extra year of funding under compelling personal reasons. If you'd like to learn more about that, please contact Student Advice. We'll be happy to go into more detail about that with you. So for part-time courses, the way Student Finance England works out the calculation for you is that they take 4 times of a full-time course duration, and that applies to how many years of funding you get, which is a total of 16 years of funding. But in this example, Say I wanted to do a law undergraduate bachelor's degree, which is 4 years part-time. This would be 3 times 4, which equals 12 years of funding, which is 3 years of the course times by 4. And so what courses are eligible for a maintenance loan? Well, full-time courses, which include a Cert HE, but for part-time, bachelor degree courses are only applicable for a maintenance loan. If you're applying for a part-time Cert HE course, you will not be eligible for a maintenance loan. The maintenance loan is paid in 3 installments over an academic year, usually at the beginning of each term, paid directly to you, the student, via your bank account that you set up with Student Finance England, and this supports living costs for the academic year.
Sorry, can I just ask, can everyone see the presentation at the moment? Because we just have a few messages, so I just want to make sure everyone can see the presentation we're referring. Yeah? You can see the slides?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
it, yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Sorry.
Thank you, no worries. So how is it calculated? Well, SFE take in your parent or guardian's income if you're under 25, or your partner's income if cohabiting. And also the number of credits you take will affect your entitlement if you are a part-time student. Let's take this for example. Say you're doing 90 credits, which is the average amount of credits you do per year. For a full-time course, you do 90 credits. A full-time course equivalent is 360. So say you do 90, that would be 75% intensity of a full-time course, for example. And also where you live, either at home, by yourself, or with parents, which we'll see in the next slide now. This is an example of what maintenance loan you'll receive, for example, if you live with your parents while you study. This is based off 120 credits and means tested at the lowest income. You will receive up to £8,171. Or if you were living away from home but studying in London, the maximum you would receive is £12,667. Again, paid throughout the academic year in 3 installments. Now, a master loan. If you're interested in a postgraduate master's loan, you'll be safe to know that you'll be able to apply for a master's loan for an MA, MSc, MRes, and MBA, for example, up to £11,836. This amount is correct for the next academic year. The value may change if, for example, if you don't apply this year and you decide to apply next year. And if your course lasts for more than a year, the loan will be divided equally across each year of your course. So for example, if you apply for a part-time course, which lasts for 2 years, your loan would be divided 3 terms over 2 years, so a total of 6 installments. And you must be under 60 years of age on the first day of the first academic year of the course and be a full standalone master's course. So you cannot apply for a master's loan to cover a postgraduate certificate or postgraduate diploma. Like I said earlier, for example, MBA, MA, MPhil, MRes, for example. And I'll pass the mic over back to my colleague Sarah, who'll be discussing the eligible residency categories for SFE support.
All right, thank you, Rehan. Okay, so now you saw the different kind of loan you might be able to apply for, so undergraduate or master loan. And you have noticed in both loan, among the eligibility criteria, one of the eligibility is to belong to an eligible residency category. So today we're going to focus to 2 main residency categories that you may belong to. So either you have a leave granted under the Ukraine schemes, or you have a leave granted under the Afghan Relocation and Assistance Policy, so ARAP, or the Afghan Citizen Resettlement Scheme, ACOS. All right. So first of all, I'm going to talk about those who have been granted leave to remain under Ukraine schemes. First, just a quick disclaimer, the policy from Student Finance at the moment is quite new. So I will explain to you the policy as it stands at the moment, but it may be subject to some change or additional information in the near future. So yeah, just that. But I will explain to you how it stands at the moment. Okay, so those who are granted a leave under one of the Ukraine schemes will be eligible for tuition fee loan and a maintenance loan or a master loan if you postgraduate if you meet the following conditions. So you are ordinary resident in England on the first day of the first academic year of a course. You must have been ordinarily resident in the UK and Ireland since you were granted such leave. And of course, you have to meet all the other personal and course eligibility requirements we saw previously. So this is quite easy. It means you have to meet the requirement for undergraduate loan or postgraduate loan that my colleague Rehan explained to you previously. So I will just go through the requirements. So about the second one, you must have been ordinary resident in the UK. So what does that mean to be ordinary resident in the UK? So it means UK has to be, it means you have habitually, normally, and lawfully be living in that area from choice. So it means England must be now your main residence where you normally live. Since you were granted such leave, so since you have the leave under the Ukraine schemes, now you normally living in the UK. And the first criteria, so you're ordinary resident in England on the first day of the first academic year of the course. So the same, it means England has to be your normal, your habitual residence. On the first day of the first academic year of the course. So with student finance, when you start a course in the autumn term, if you want, they have specific registered start date. So if your course starts in October, for student finance, the official start date will be 1st of September. So it means for them that if you start a course in October, if you start a course in the autumn term with Birkbeck, it means you need to be an ordinary resident in England on the first day of the first academic year of the course, so on the 1st of September. However, as I mentioned previously, the policy is in constantly changing. And for this first criteria, it's very likely that actually this condition is going to be removed. There has been a very recent announcement from the Department for Education, beginning of August. However, it hasn't been updated officially in the student finance regulation. So that's why I'm leaving this in the slide. But just bear in mind that this first criteria may be removed. But the two other criteria obviously are still standing. So in any case, you will have to be ordinary resident in the UK since you were granted your leave. And you have to meet, obviously, all the different criteria for undergraduate and postgraduates. So also, when I'm saying you have a leave under one of the Ukraine schemes, what I'm saying exactly, what student finance is referring to is one of these schemes. So you have the Ukraine family scheme, which allows Ukrainian national and their family members to come to the UK or extend their stay in the UK if they have family members who already have leave to remain in the UK. You have the Homes for Ukraine sponsorship scheme, which allows Ukrainian national and their family member to come to the UK if they have an approved sponsor under this scheme. And you have the Ukraine extension scheme, which allow Ukrainian national and their family member who already have leave to remain in the UK to extend their leave in the UK because they cannot return to Ukraine. So I'm sure you may know this scheme, but just to be clear, it's three of them. If your leave is not under these Ukraine schemes, then this category won't be applicable to you. Okay, so now let's go into more practice because I appreciate can be a bit abstract and unclear. So we have an example. So Galina is a Ukrainian national who is granted 3 years of leave in the UK on 1st May 22 under the Ukraine family scheme. Galina is living in England. She's going to start a 3-year full-time BSc business course in the academic year 22-23 at Birkbeck. She applies to SFE for funding. Okay. Will she be eligible for student finance support, so tuition fee loan and maintenance loan, for the academic year 22-23? So if you want, you can put your answer in the chat, what you think, if she will be eligible, and also why you think she may be. If you think she won't be eligible, then also the same, put the reason. I just leave one or 2 minutes just to see what you think about it. So yeah, we have Palatine. So if you eligible for a loan, you can still apply for loan for the academic year. Yeah, so at the moment, application for loan are still open, but is the student meeting the criteria to apply? It's the main question. So I will, oops. So I'm going to help you. So yes, she will be eligible. So why she will be eligible? So first, she has a leave under one of the Ukraine scheme. She has the Ukraine, so she has a leave under the Ukraine family scheme. Okay, so this is ticked. Two, so she has been granted leave in the UK on 1st May 22, and now she's living in England. So she has been ordinary resident in the UK since she has been granted her leave to remain. There is also, she's also met the first condition that she's ordinary living in England on the first day of the first academic year of her course, because her course starts in October 22. So she will be in England on the 1st of September. But this criteria is, as I say, is going to be removed. But yeah, the main two things you need to remember is she's eligible because she has the Ukraine family scheme, and she's been ordinary living in the UK since she has been granted her leave. I'm just checking, sorry, quickly for chat. That's fine. Okay. Now, so as you may know, those who are granted a leave under one of the Ukraine schemes are granted up to 3 years of limited leave to enter or remain in the UK. So how this may affect your student finance support during your course, once you have started your course. So another example, so Martin is a Ukrainian national who is granted 3 years of leave in the UK on 1st of May 22 under the Ukraine family scheme. Okay, so Martin starts a 4-year undergraduate degree course in the academic year 22-23, and he applies for student finance for funding as he's living in England. On the 30th of April 2025, his UK leave to remain will expire. Okay, so just remember these dates, this information, and now I'm going to ask you a few questions. So, do you think he will be eligible for SFE support, so for tuition fee loan and maintenance loan, for his first year in 22-23? So the same, if you want to put your answer in the chat. No, nobody want to try. Okay, that's fine. So let me just. So yes, he will be eligible for SFE funding. The reason is, I will just go back. So it's quite similar to the first example. So he has Ukraine. He has been granted a leave under one of the Ukraine schemes. So he has the Ukraine family schemes, and he has been an ordinary resident in the UK since he has been granted his scheme. Because he arrived on the 1st May 22, and since then, England is his main residence. So yes, he will get funding for the first year. For the second year, yes as well, because he already, so if as his leave is still valid, then he will be able to apply. So you have to apply for student finance each year. So he will have to apply for year 2, but he will still meet the requirements. Now it's going to be a bit more complicated. So year 3, will he be eligible? So if you remember, his leave is going to expire the 30th of April 25. Okay, I can see George say yes, he will be eligible. So yes, he will be eligible because his leave will expire. So for year 3, his leave will expire during the academic year 24-25. So it's during if you want, his leave has not expired before, it expired during. So SFE support will be awarded for the whole academic year 24-25. However, obviously, if his leave expire, he have to make the necessary to renew his leave or to have a valid immigration status to stay in the UK. But in terms of support with student finance, you just have to apply at the beginning of 24-25 and it will be able to get support for the whole academic year. Now it's going to be a bit more complicated for 25-26. So it is year 4. So will it be eligible for SFE support? So I'll leave you 2 minutes. So for this one, do you think he will get support for his last year of funding? And his leave expired on the 30th of April. No, okay. Yes, okay, so it's quite... No, okay, we have more no than yes. All right. So it will depend. It's a bit a tricky question, but it will depend because the support will only be awarded for the academic year 25-26 if he provides proof that his leave has been extended by the end of the academic year 24-25, or if he has been granted another valid form of leave by the end of 24-25. So for instance, if he has an indefinite leave to remain. Okay, but if his leave expire on the 30th of April 25 and for any reason it's not renewed, then he won't be able to apply for a loan for the academic year 25-26. He needs to have a valid form of leave. Okay. It's a bit tricky. So if you have any question, just put it on a piece of paper and then we can have a look together. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to talk about students who have been granted a leave under the Afghan Relocation and Assistance Policy, so ARAP, or the Afghan Citizens Resettlement Scheme, ACRS. So I will say ARAP, ACRS, just to be easier. So this is also the requirement for this category. So let's have a look. Those who are granted leave under ARAP or ACRS will be eligible for tuition fee loan and maintenance loan if they are undergraduate, or for master loan if they are postgraduate, if they meet the following conditions. So they have to be ordinary resident in England on the first day of the first academic year of the course, and they has been ordinary resident in the UK and Ireland from the date their most recent leave was granted. And they have also, again, have to meet all the other personal and course eligibility requirements we saw previously. So in this case, these 3 requirements are mandatory. In the Ukraine scheme, I said the first conditions are ordinary resident in England on the first day of the first academic year of the course. It was going to be removed, very likely. But for the students who have a leave under the Afghan scheme, relocation scheme, these 3 requirements are mandatory. So it means to be eligible, you will have to be ordinary residents in England. So again, England has to be your normal residence where you usually live on the first day of the first academic year of a course. So if you start a course in the autumn term, it means you have to be in England on the 1st of September So if you start a course this year, on the 1st of September 2002, to start the first year of your course. And then the other requirement is the same. So you have to be ordinary resident in the UK from the date your most recent leave was granted. So in this category, you can also, so a family member who has been granted leave in the UK as the spouse, civil partner, or dependent child, stepchild of a person who was granted leave under the ARAP or ACRS may also be eligible for SFE support if they meet the conditions mentioned previously. So, for instance, if let's say your parent has been granted a leave under the ARAP or ACRS, and you have a leave on the basis you, the child of your parent who have been granted the leave under the ARAP, you may be eligible at the condition you meet the residency criteria we just saw. Okay, so the same, if you have any question, just write them down and we can have a look. So now just an example. So we have Amina, who is an Afghan national who worked for the British government in Afghanistan. Amina is relocated to the UK under the ARAP and arrives in UK in April 2021. She's living in England. So Amina starts an undergraduate degree course in the academic year 22-23. So will she be eligible for SFE support? So the same. What do you think? You can put your answer on the chat. Okay, and those who say yes, can you briefly explain why? Well, anyway, I can see only yes. Yeah, so I can see only yes, so that's good. I think you understood what I said. Exactly, she's eligible. So first, she has a leave under the ARAP. Okay, so she has a leave under the ARAP. And also, she arrived in the UK in April 21, and now she's living in England. So she has been, so England is her main residence. So she's ordinary resident in the UK, here in England, since she has been granted her leave. And she's been, and so she's living in England and she started a course in the academic year 22-23. So she's resident in England on the first day of the first academic year of her course, because it means she will be in England on the 1st of September, so the first day of the first academic year of her course. So yes, she meets the requirements and she will be eligible. All right, so now you have checked and you're eligible, so that's great. And now you want to apply for a student loan. So when to apply? We advise you to apply as soon as possible. So at the moment, the application are open. Okay, so they open usually until the following May. But I advise you to apply as soon as possible because obviously you want to have your loan approved before you start your course. Also, these categories are new, so I won't be surprised if it takes some more time for student finance to assess the applications. So really apply as soon as you can. Also, you don't need an offer from the university to apply for student loan. If finally you have been accepted if you applied for LLB law, but actually you have been accepted on another course, we can change your details later. We can inform student finance. So really apply as soon as you can is the most important.
And what about those who are don't have a permission to work in the UK?
Sorry, I will answer any question at the end of the presentation.
Okay, perfect. Sorry
you.
for the interrupting. Yeah.
No worries. Okay, so how to apply. So you can apply directly online on SFE website. So the same, you can take in picture this QR code, which will put you directly to the SFE website. So you have to apply online, and then your application will be assessed by Student Finance. So you will, as part of your application, you will have also to send original document to Student Finance. So if you have a leave granted under the Ukraine schemes, you will be asked to provide a proof of identity and a proof of residency status. So for instance, if you have your BRP card, your biometric residence permits, you can send it only that because it shows your identity and your residency status. But you can send, for instance, a valid passport with a vignette which show that you have been granted leave under the Ukraine scheme. I think we're going to send you the slides anyway, so you will be able to have a look by yourself to see which evidence you have. But the thing is, it's original evidence. And I know sometimes it's a bit stressful to send original evidence by post. So make sure to send it as a tracked and recorded mail, okay, to make sure you can track your document. So if you have a leave under the ARAP or ACRS, you have also again send a proof of identity and proof of residency status. So the same, if you have a BRP card which show that you have a leave under the ARAP, you can send that. But you can send, for instance, your passport and the Home Office letter confirming the category of leave. So it would depend which document you have. So you can have a look. And also, if you're applying, if your leave has been granted in line, so if you're a family member of someone who has been granted leave under the ARAP or ACRS, you will have, in addition, to provide proof of your relationship to the person. So if you're the child or if you're the spouse. Yeah, so that's all for me. As I say, we will answer any question you have after. And I will leave it to Ray.
Thank you, Sarah. I know the floor is brimming with questions, so I'm quickly going to go over the repayment section for undergraduate and master's loan before we open the floor for questions. So for an undergraduate loan, the repayment threshold is over £27,295 a year before tax. The way this is worked out is you repay 9% of your income above this number from April after graduation or April 4 years after you begin, whichever first. Now, if you do not complete your repayments in total, the loan is cancelled after 30 years. And this is for an undergraduate loan. And now let's take a table, for example, to say if you graduate and you decide to get a job straight after, let's say your wage is £31,000 a year. 9% of that will be deducted, which would give you an approximate repayment of about £45 a month. Now, say that your circumstances change and you don't earn more than £25,000, you won't pay any more. Your payments will be frozen until you go above that threshold, then your repayments will begin again. And for your master's loan, the amount is lower, which is £21,000 a year before tax, which is £1,750 a month. You repay 6% of your income above this threshold, and the interest is usually the retail price index plus 3%. It's actually 4.5%. And also you pay April after graduation or April 4 years after you begin, whichever first. Again, cancelled after 30 years if you do not pay your master's loan in full by then. Again, this table will quickly show you and demonstrate, for example, if you graduate after a master's course and you start working and your wage is, for example, say £40,000, you'll then start repaying your master's loan, which is an approximate £95, which is 6% is deducted from the 40,000, as you can see. Now, if your circumstances change again and you earn less than £21,000, your payments will be frozen until you go above that threshold. And lastly, please feel free to take our contact details for the Birkbeck student advice. Our email is studentadvice@bbk.ac.uk. Should you have any questions you feel you don't want to ask today, or you may forget about and realize afterwards, feel free to send us an email with the headline SFE event, and Sarah and I will be able to reply to you in due course. Our phone number is also available. We're open this week, Thursday 12 to 6 and Friday 12 to 5, in case you wanted to chat to us. And you can also see Student Finance England and UKCISA details, including their Twitter details. Thank you very much. I'm going to pass the mic over to Sarah so we can begin questions.